All right, today we're going to take a look at what to do if your buddy forgot his or her harness and you're already at the base of the crag, or maybe you're going down a canyon and they don't have a harness, and suddenly you get to a rappel and you just find out. So what you need for this, we're going to make a more comfortable harness, and what we need is we've got two quick draws with us. We have our climbing rope, and we have a double length sling. This double length sling I have crossed. I put it over both of my legs, and then I tied an overhand knot with a bite to create these two separate little loops. You can also just create this, making sure that you have an overhand knot in the very middle of the sling, and you clip a locking carabiner through it. This is going to end up being my belay loop in the very end of this, okay? So I'm going to take this rope, and I'm going to pay out, maybe 1, 2, 3, about 4 arm spans, okay? And then I'm going to step in front of that rope. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this spare end that's in my left hand where the tail is, and I'm just going to wrap that around my body, okay? And the neater I can get this, oftentimes, whoops, more comfortable this makeshift harness is going to be. Okay, so now I've used up the majority of that tail, and I'm going to find the standing end, okay? There's the tail, which is in my left hand at the right hand side of the camera there, and then the standing end here. I'm going to take that standing end and I'm going to make a small loop, okay? And that loop, I want to be underlapped, and what I mean by that is the majority of the rope here, you can see the majority of the rope traveling out away from me is going to be behind the part coming out from this coil. So once again, majority of the rope here, I make a fold to make a loop where it's behind the rest of the rope that's in this coil, and I'm going to tuck that up and behind all of those little coils that I just made. And now I'm going to pass this tail through that little loop there, okay? And it's going to go around the standing end and then back through that little loop. And I'm going to pull on that. And what I've just created by doing that, when I pull on the standing end, as you can see, there's a bowline. So all these loops here are created kind of a coil around my waist and then followed by a bowline. So this is called a bowline on a coil. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to lock this bowline off by just making a barrel knot on the single strand that's coming out the back side of it here. Okay, barrel knot is essentially 2 overhand knots that butt up against each other. Okay, so just like so, and I'll pass that through just like so and push that in. And then with this remaining tail that I have right here, I'm just gonna, if there's enough, I can wrap it around all the coil like this. Oops. And then pass it through one last time just so I don't have anything in my way. Okay, and so now I've created a bowline on a coil. Now I take this double length runner, and the exact length may differ. I'm a fairly skinny guy, and a double length just barely works for me, even though I have pretty fat thighs. If you're skinnier, you may need a little bit, if you're skinnier, this will probably still work a bit, and if you've got a little bit bigger legs than I do, then you may need a triple length runner, and you may need to just make some adjustments here. Okay, you could also use a cordelette for this. But now I'm simply going to step through each of these loops just the way you would on a climbing harness. Okay. Like so. There's one. Step through my other one here. Okay. Bring that up. And now to join this together, I simply take this locking carabiner. I'm going to clip it around this entire coil here. Okay. I'm going to go around all these. Oops. Go. And then back into that little overhand on a bite. Okay, so now we have our belay loop. We've got my leg loops. And then to keep these leg loops up so they don't ride down, that's what these quick draws are for. So that's like the little bungee part of the harness in the back. So we'll see and get these around all the coil there. I have to work at it a little bit. This is a bit of a bigger coil here, so I might just clip through the majority of these here because this is just to keep these leg loops up. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing here. If I'd only done, say, 4 wraps around my body, then the quick draw would often fit, or if that carabiner there at the top were bigger, then you can get it to fit through all. Okay, and then that's gonna clip through here, and just slide those around the back. And now you can see it's set up very similar to a normal harness, and everything on it is still rated. This carabiner is 22 kilonewtons. I'm using the climbing rope. These leg loops don't need to be rated, but even this is made out of a 22 kilonewton sling. And I just use this. So I'm about to set up for rappel, and you'll see it works quite well. When you're setting up for rappel, most people are used to having the end down the cliff. In this case, the end of the rope is simply on me. So when I throw the rope, as I rappel, me being the end will get closer and closer to the ground until I'm finally on the ground. One word of caution on this is if you do have a rappel or a climbing route that's going to use up the vast majority of this rope, then using this coil up may leave you hanging in space on a rappel. So I'd want to make sure if I'm doing a single rope wrap that it is certainly less than 30 meters. So I'll be standing on the ground when I'm done with this, or if I'm belaying my buddy, I want to make sure it's less than a 60-meter pitch, or they're going to run out of rope and we might have to simul climb. Cool, let's go take a look in just a sec at me rappelling with this pseudo-comfortable harness. Okay, so I'm setting myself up on rappel, right? And I've got my belay loop here, so it works just like normal. I've got my third hand, and I'm gonna put that in my belay loop. Okay, use that to capture the ropes. Clipped in there, and then I like to use an extension when I rappel, and today, out ice climbing, I'm just gonna use a quick draw with 2 locking carabiners on that, and I'm going to put that, make sure that's above. Okay. Pull up, give myself some slack, put that on, just like so. Okay. And there we go. I'm all set up to rappel. It's just through my belay loop, just like normal. I lean back, and I'd find this almost as comfortable as the standard alpine harness, which is to say it's not nearly as comfortable as a rock harness or true ice harness, but in a pinch it'll work.